Hilchos Kiddush Hachodesh Perek Chamishi. The laws of sanctifying the new month, chapter 5. Today we're going to learn about the transition that happened since the time when they used to make the calendar based on testimony of witnesses to today when we no longer use that mechanism and we have a set calendar that just tells us when Rosh Chodesh is. So the Rambam is going to trace when that stopped and some of the customs that changed as the calendar changed. Halacha Aleph says the Rambam, Kol Masha Amarnu Mikvius Rosh Chodesh Al Hariyah. Everything that we've talked about in the last 4 chapters about setting the new month based on the sighting of the moon. The Ibur Hashana Mipnei Azman and Mipnei Atzoyrech. And everything we talked about making leap years based on the time and the seasons or based on the needs of the community. Yesterday we saw if the roads were unpaved or the bridges were destroyed, that was enough of a reason to make a leap year. Ein Oisin Oisai Ela Sanhedrin Sheba Eretz Yisrael. The only people who were authorized to do that was the High Court, the Sanhedrin in Israel. Oy Beis Din Hasmuchim Be'eretz Yisrael, or another court that had smicha, because there were other courts. Besides for the 71 judges, there was 23 judges of some courts. If they all had smicha, Shenasnu Lahen Sanhedrin Rishus. If the High Court, the 71 judges court, gave them permission, still they have to be in Israel, but they at least can also make the calendar if they get the authority. Shekach Nemar L'Moshe V'Aaron, because this is how it was given over. The very first time that Hashem told the Jewish people about making a calendar, when he told to Moshe and Aaron in Egypt, what did he say? Hachodesh hazeh lochem. See the red word there? Reish Chadashim. This new moon is going to be for you, the new months. What does it mean for you? From tradition we learned one man from the other. Till Moshe Rabbeinu gave us the explanation in this verse, Shekach hu pirush hadavar. That such is the explanation of the matter. Eidozu Tia Mesura Lachem. This testimony is going to be handed over to your jurisdiction. And anybody who stands after you in your place. In other words, anybody who's going to be like Moshe and Aharon in the High Court, they're going to have the authority to make Rosh Chodesh, nobody else. Aval bizman she'ein sham Sanhedrin be'eretz Yisrael, but in the time when there will be no High Court in the land of Israel, ein kaivin chadashim, ve'ein ma'abrin shanim, we don't have the authority to set new months or to make leap years, except with the mathematical calculation, the fixed calendar, which we use today. In other words, once there's no High Court, we stop relying on the court to make the calendar. We just go with the regular set calendar. Beis, this matter is a halacha received directly from Moshe on Mount Sinai. In a time where there's a High Court, we use the sighting of the moon to set the new month. When there is no Sanhedrin, we use the calculations that we use today to make our fixed calendar. We don't care about when the moon is going to be sighted. As a matter of fact, says the Rambam, sometimes the day which we decide as Rosh Chodesh is in fact the day when the moon is going to be sighted. Or sometimes Rosh Chodesh will be the day before the moon will be sighted, or the day after the moon will be sighted. For Rosh Chodesh to be set the day after the sighting is quite rare. It could only happen in a land which is west of Israel. When you're west of Israel, the sighting of the moon will happen earlier. And therefore you might end up seeing the moon a day earlier, and Rosh Chodesh for you will be the next day, already after the moon will already have been sighted. That's very rare. Says the Rambam Halacha Gimel, when indeed did all the Jewish people begin to count with the fixed calendar? The Rambam says, Misoif Chachmei HaGemara, from the time at the end of the sages of the Talmud. When Israel was destroyed, and there was no set High Court stayed there. But in the days of the sages of the Mishnah in earlier times, according to the Rambam, in the times of the sages of the Talmud, up to and including the days of Abaye and Rava, which were quite late in the Amoraim, in the sages of the Talmud, they were still relying on the fixed calendar of Israel. Now some commentaries take this to mean that the Rambam understands that they were still following the testimony of witnesses. It doesn't make much sense because at that time there was no Beit Din Smuchim. The Smicha was already lost. So some understand the Rambam to be saying that they weren't looking at the testimony of witnesses, but still everybody outside of Israel was waiting for Israel to announce when Rosh Chodesh was. It doesn't say al Ri'iyat Eretz Yisrael, al Kvi'at Eretz Yisrael, on the fixed time that was announced in Israel. That's what everybody would rely on. Only later, everyone started using their own calendar completely and didn't even have to come onto the authority in Israel. Dalid, Kishahoisa Sanhedrin Kayemes, Vayukevin al Ri'iyah, when the Sanhedrin was functioning, and they were setting the new months based on the setting of the new moon. All the people of Israel and all the places where the messengers in the month of Tishrei would reach during the days between Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot, they would keep the holidays only one day because they knew when Rosh Chodesh was. Other far places, where the messengers of Tishrei could not reach there, they would keep 2 days of holiday out of doubt, because they didn't know which day the people in Israel made as the new month. So nowadays you would think, since there's no high court, and even the court in Israel sets the calendar based on our calculations, we don't care about the moon, it would be logical that every place should only keep 1 day of holiday. Even the most far places in the diaspora should keep 1 day, just like the people in Israel, because everybody is relying on one calculation and everybody is setting their calendar based on one calculation. So why do we keep 2 days? Outside of Israel, why do we have 2 days Yom Tov? It is an enactment of the sages that we should be careful. Since our fathers had the custom to keep 2 days, we should keep that custom and keep 2 days. And therefore the Rambam says, Lefichach, if you want to know whether you should keep 1 day or 2 days, you have to look where you are on the map. Lefichach, therefore, Kol makom shelo hayu shluchei Tishrei magiin elav kishahayu hashluchin yotzin, any place where the agents of Tishrei did not reach. Even in the times when emissaries used to go out, they didn't get there, yasu shnei yamim, va'afilu bizman hazeh, they should keep 2 days of holiday, even nowadays, like they used to do when the people of Israel used to set their calendars based on the setting of the new moon. People of Israel do 1 day, like they always did. They never did 2 days. It turns out, says the Rambam, the second day of holiday, which we keep nowadays in the diaspora, it's actually a rabbinic ordinance. It's like almost vadai, it's almost certain, it's not a doubt anymore. Today we keep 2 days holiday because the sages said, keep 2 days holiday. Zayin, there's one exception, there's one holiday that even in Israel they keep 2 days. Yom Tov Shal Rosh Hashanah, the holiday of Rosh Hashanah. Bizman shahayu kaiven al hariyah, even in the time when they would set their calendar on the setting of the new moon, hayurayv b'nei Eretz Yisrael oisin oisoi shnei yamim misafik. Most of the Jews in Israel kept 2 days out of doubt. Why? Because the second the 30th day of Elul comes in, you have to assume that it's going to be Rosh Hashanah. So you stop doing work, you blow the shofar. But maybe the high court didn't get any witnesses, and Rosh Chodesh only the next day. So the next day, day 31, you did all over again. You didn't do work, and you blow the shofar.
But how come once it was 1 day in Israel?
Never. Rosh Hashanah was never 1 day, says the Rambam. Because they didn't know which day the high court made the new month. Because the agents cannot go out on the holiday. Says the Rambam, not only that, not only most of Israel kept 2 days, even in Jerusalem itself, where the court was situated, many days they would keep the holiday of Rosh Hashanah 2 days. Why? Because let's say the witnesses didn't end up coming on day 30. They would behave on both days as holy. Because since today could be Rosh Chodesh, you have to take that chance. So everybody would wait around that day, blow shofar and not do work. It would end up being Rosh Hashanah. And if the witnesses didn't show up, then what happens? The next day is also holy. So they would end up keeping 2 days, even in Jerusalem. Since the Jewish people would keep 2 days Rosh Hashanah, even in the time when they were still following the setting of the moon, the sages enacted that even the Jewish people in Israel should always keep Rosh Hashanah for 2 days, even nowadays when we use the mathematical calculations to fix our calendar. Says the Rambam, here we learn even the second day of Rosh Hashanah nowadays, Midivrei Seifrim, is rabbinic. Now, we said that in Israel you keep 1 day. Outside of Israel, if the agents didn't reach you, you keep 2 days. Now, how do you decide where the agents reached? You can't just say that whoever is in an 8-day radius of Jerusalem should keep 1 day. Because even in those times, the agents didn't go everywhere. They only went to where there was a Jewish community.
Normally they used to go to the east. They didn't go
Sometimes they didn't, exactly.
They didn't go to the Roma,
So you can't say,
go to the Yavan,
there you go. Says the Rambam, making 1 day holiday doesn't depend on how close you are to Jerusalem. Ketzah, what does that mean? Just because between you and between Jerusalem there's a 5-day walk, or even less, in which case it's certainly possible that the agents could have reached you. We don't say for sure that anybody in that place keeps 1 day. Who says that in times of the temple, the agents went out to that place? Right? You say, here, this is Jerusalem. Just because you're a 5-day walk doesn't mean you get to keep 1 day. Maybe the agents didn't go to that place because there was no Jewish community there. Only after they went and began to use the fixed calendar, now Jews began to live there, in which case they have to actually keep 2 days because the agents didn't reach there. Or maybe there was a blockade on the road. Like there used to be, even in Israel itself, between Judea and the Galilee, there was actually a blockade. You couldn't go from one place to another. So even if you're actually physically close to Jerusalem, the agents didn't reach there. Or certain Kuthians, certain Gentiles, even certain Jews wouldn't allow the agents to pass by. They wanted to disturb the Jewish calendar.
They didn't have to walk. On the top of the mountain they used to...
But that we learned yesterday, that stopped because people used to mess it up purposely.
Oh, because some people
Yes.
messed up.
Yeah. So that Rambam says, if the matter was dependent on how close you are, everybody in Egypt should keep only 1 day holiday. Look at the map. It's possible for people in Jerusalem, the agents, to reach Egypt. Says the Rambam, she'ein ben Yerushalayim u'Mitzrayim al derech Ashkelon ela mahalach shmena yamim pachis. From Jerusalem to Egypt, if you go through Ashkelon, through the side, you'll get to Egypt in 8 days, no problem, or less. V'chein reiv Syria, and most of Syria. Look how close it is to Yerushalayim. If people traveled for 8 days, no doubt they get to certain places in Syria. So logically, they should keep only 1 day holiday. But of course they don't. So certainly the matter is not dependent on how close it is. It matters on which communities the agents went to.
But this is not the Torah anymore. This is a political one.
What do you mean?
This is not a real Torah one because, okay, Elat is not Israel.
Okay,
It's not Torah.
I wasn't so exact here. Says that Rambam Halacha Yud Aleph Nimtza. It turns out Ikar Davar Zeh Al Derech Zu Kachu. The principle that you have to follow when it comes to this matter goes like this: you don't go necessarily by how close you are. Kol Makom Sheyesh Beinoi Uvein Yerushalayim Mahalach Yasar Al Asara Yamim Gemurim. Any place that between it and Jerusalem there's for sure a 10-day walk. They always keep 2 days as they used to because there's no way for the agents to get there. Because every year on Tishrei the agents could only reach a place that was at least was maximum 10 days walk. Because you only had 10 days to walk. You had 2 days Rosh Hashanah, you had Yom Kippur where you couldn't travel. So all you have is 10 days. So if you're past 10 days, you're for sure out of the game. V'chol makom shebeino levein Yerushalayim, mahalach asara yamim b'shava oy pachos. But any place that's between it and Jerusalem, a 10-day walk or less, she'efshar sheyu shluchim magiyin alav, where it's possible that the agents maybe reach there, royim, then we have to check. And you have to basically pretty much guess. Im oiseh hamakom me'eretz Yisrael, shahayu ba Yisrael b'shas hariyah, b'kibusheni, if that place is in the area of Israel, in a place where there were Jewish communities when they used to still use the moon sighting, during the second conquest of the land, when Ezra, the scribe, came back from Babylonia. Kigoin, and the Rambam gives a couple of examples of some cities, and I tried my best to locate where they are. Not all of them today are known, but the Rambam says Kigoin Usha. Usha is right there next to Haifa. If you know Israel today, we're Kvish Shivim.
There is a kibbutz Usha over there.
Yeah?
Oh.
In the north. Usha, Ushfaram. This is a city till today, also right there, in near Haifa. The Luz, there's an argument where this is. I didn't even put it on the map. I don't know where Luz is.
Lud.
No, there's Lud. But you, it says Lud or Luz?
Yeah, the Lud.
You have Lud?
Yeah.
Oh, so if it's Lud, then okay, then we know where it is. My Rambam says Luz.
Yavne.
Yeah, Yavne.
Yavne,
So
the
those
city.
are
Now,
close.
Yavne, well, Yavne today is actually down here.
It's closer to the sea.
Yes.
Yeah. So
But it seems like the Rambam's Yavne is referring to one in the north, somewhere up there.
Nov is in the Golan Heights.
And Nova's, yes, Nova is in the Golan.
And Tiberia.
Tveria, of course, is right there next to the Kinneret. So they're all pretty much in the top north.
Shafran is close to Rabbi Shimon Yochai.
Huh? Shfaram? Yeah. So all of these places, v'chayetze bahen, and anything like them, oisin yom echad bilvat. They only keep one day because they're for sure part of Israel.
There is Moshav Nov in
No?
exactly the same place.
In the Golan.
Yeah.
Yeah, over here.
Oh yeah.
Small little place. V'im oiseh hamakam misuria. But if the place is not part of Israel, it's part of Syria. Now over here, the commentaries say that Syria doesn't literally mean Syria. Syria means all the lands that were conquered extending outside of Israel at the time when the Jews conquered lands. We're going to see in the 7th book of the Rambam, there's a whole definition called Syria. It's a general, all-encompassing place. Some of the area is actually in today's Syria, but it's other counties or areas around. You go in Tzor. Tzor today is in Lebanon, right? Tyre.
Used to be Syria.
Huh? It used to be the halachic Syria, not actual Syria. Syria was a general name for all the lands conquered outside of Israel. V'Damesek, okay, that's Damascus. That's in Syria over there. The Ashkelon. Now, this doesn't make much sense. Ashkelon, again, is way down here. So the commentary said that Rambam is probably referring to some other Ashkelon that was up in the north.
So what is it about Ashkelon?
So the Rambam says, if it's in those places, v'chayetze bahen, anything like it, oy michutz ha'laaretz, or it's just outside of Israel, Mitzrayim, the Ammon, Umayyah, v'chayetze bahen, like Egypt, and Ammon and Moab, which are even further down, and anything like it, oysim kiminag avisein shabidein, they should simply follow their parents' custom. Im yom echad, im shnei yamim. 1 day, 1 day, 2 days, 2 days. In other words, we can't actually know where the agents went, so we have to follow tradition. Yud Beis, Mokim Shebinei Ben Yerushalayim. Asara Yamim, my Pachis Me Asara. What if you have a place where between you and Jerusalem there's 10 days or less? V'hu Surya Chutz Haaretz, and it's in the area called Surya, the extended lands, or in the diaspora. Ve'ein lahen minag. What if they have no custom? Oy shehi ir shenischatsha b'midbar Eretz Yisrael, or it's a new city, it was just built in Israel's desert. Oy Mokim Sheshachnu Ba Yisrael Ata. Or now, where Jews came to live, according to the Rambam, oisin shnei yamim keminag re'vaylim. They should keep 2 days. The Rambam would hold, even in Israel, any new moshavim have to keep 2 days. Today, we don't really follow this. Today, if you're in Israel, you keep 1 day. But according to the Rambam, any place which doesn't have a way to trace back their tradition, they have to keep 2 days.
Rabbanim in Elat,
In Eilat, it's 2 days. Yeah,
they keep.
many people keep 2 days. Yeah.
It's not Eretz Yisrael.
V'chol yom tev sheni midivrei seifrim. But every second day of holiday will always be rabbinic. Even the second day of Rosh Hashanah, which everyone keeps, even in Israel, it's rabbinic. Yud Gimel, the fact that today we can have our own calendar, every person in his city, and we say, today's Rosh Chodesh, today's a holiday. You should know, we're not relying on our own authority. It's not like we make our own calculations and our own kviyut, our own fixings. You cannot do that outside of Israel. You cannot make leap years or new months outside of Israel. We only rely on the calculations made by the people of Israel and on their fixing of the calendars. Legales hadavar bilvadhu. The fact that we make a calculation is only to reveal the matter. We anyways know that Israel is using the same calculation. And therefore, we simply calculate to also know, to be in alignment, to know when in Israel they're making the calendar. And the fact that Israel makes the calendar, that's why we're able to keep holiday and new months. Not because of our calendar which we make, we simply are relying on Israel's calendar. Now, of course, today we have the calendar made by Rabbi Hillel, who it's a self-working system till the end of time. So we know automatically when it is, but it's still in that way, even the Talmud says that him and his court sanctified all future months forever. So it's in the end, it's based on their kviyut, not based on our fixing, because as the Rambam says a few times, Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, udvar Hashem Yerushalayim. Only from Jerusalem we can decide the Jewish calendar.